like that. So I'm going to show you guys how to press a specimen, okay? If you want to stand up and come closer, because I think that the people from the back won't be able to see. It's a very simple thing to press a plant, okay? So what you need straps, okay? Because this is going to give pressure to the press and to keep it flat, okay? So you're gonna need straps. You're gonna need this, I don't know, how would you guys call it in English?
Frames.
Frames? Frames, perfect. You need these frames, wooden frames, to help apply the pressure and distribute the pressure equally through the press. And you can use these cardboards and this metal thing that's called a corrugate that allows air to go through, okay? Because we're gonna do this. This allows air to go through and helps to dry, okay? Because imagine you're not gonna have one pressed specimen per press. You're gonna have a pile of them. And as long as you go and collect the plants and you go with your press and it piles up, things will get very flat. And if you don't have something that allows the air to go in, then they won't dry. And if they don't dry, they will rot and you will lose your specimen, okay? Not all the times people use these corrugates because you can also have air come through these holes here, okay? The corrugate is more useful when you have to press things that are thicker, cacti, fruits, stuff like this, because it also gets a little bit warm and it can help distribute the warmth where you put the press in, okay? So, you're gonna get a paper, like so, and you're going to put on top of the cardboard, and you're going to separate one frame to use it later. Don't put the metal in contact with the paper, okay? And then you're going to get your plant. I'm going to use this small one here. When we press a species specimen, you must, well, not must, but it's highly suggested that it has to have the flower and the fruit, okay? Because it will make it easier for people to really identify what species it is. And try to look for a nice looking branch, okay? This one, for example, is not very nice looking, but this one, it's a little bit better. And you want to make sure you have the leaves also, okay? And when you put down on the paper, you want to make sure both sides of the leaves are visible. You're not going to flatten them out and have only one side showing. You want to make sure you have the upper and lower side of the leaf, okay? This is very important because some species, they have a lot of difference between the size. And you have to make sure that the person sees this when they get your herbarium, your pressed plant, okay? And then in this case, that the flowers are organized like so, you might not get them extremely flat in a way that's easy to see. But when you have like big flowers, you try to ease the petals in a way that when it's pressed, you will see the flower and not just like a bunch of you know, like, or kind of organize the petals so you can have a better idea.
See it when it crunched up.
Yeah, because if it's crunched up, you cannot see the stamens or you cannot see the ovary. And if a person wants to see that, they will have to pluck a petal out of this. And when you pluck a petal of a plant that is dry, you lost the petal. You're gonna have to put the petal inside an envelope that sometimes they have it for parts of the plants that dried up and are too dry that they fall apart, and people start putting them in these envelopes. So you want to try to avoid this, okay? So you want to be very careful about pressing. It's simple, but it's just not like throw there and put the paper on top and that's it. If you do in a careful way, it's going to be more understandable when someone gets it and needs to look for characteristics. Do you understand this? So be very careful when you press. So usually you don't do this when they're wet. So you kind of dry them up. We just put there because we need them to last for tomorrow. So you would, if you guys want to come closer just so I can show, you would like change some of the leaves in order to get both sides of them, and try to flatten the flower in a way that you will be able, at least one of them in this case will be like easy to see. And then since in this case it's complicated because this branch has like a weird disposition of flowers, you try to do your best. This is the best I can do right now. And then if, depending on the plant, you can ask for like someone to help you out, like hold the flower parts and the petals or the leaves. And then you're gonna get this other cardboard, put it on top, and you're going to get the other frame, you're going to put it on top, and then you're gonna put the straps. In this case, I can do this and ask someone to line up the straps so I can put on top. If you're dealing with a big amount of specimens, you have to lay the straps down first before you put the cardboard. Unless it's going to be impossible for you to get a huge press without it being strapped, okay? So, Brad, can you help me out here? Can you lay down the straps so I can put the press? At the herbarium, we're gonna see better, okay?
Want it fully open or?
They don't need to be fully open because we have like a small press, so it's okay. But you can get the idea. If you have a big press, you're gonna fully open the strap. And well, when I used to collect my plants for my masters, because my plants they had fruits, and the fruit is like a very small, like round ball like this. So I had like, I don't know, 20 specimens pressed, and I would ask someone to hold the straps while I went on top of the press and like made a lot of pressure. So I climbed on top of the press, and then the person would strap up, and then I would make sure there was a lot of pressure, and I would get them flattened out as necessary. But like herbaceous plants, you don't really need to do this because they get pressed very easy. But plants that are a little bit more, you know, thick are more complicated. To press cacti, it's not like a pleasant thing. Yeah, you can imagine, right? And then this thing works very logically. You just pull this like this, and you do the same thing with this other one, applying pressure, okay? So try not to do this that I just did, which is leave the part that holds the strap right in the corner. Leave this in the middle so you can have more room to work with it, like so. Okay? And that's it. And then you're going to put this to dry. You're gonna let it dry. What is the best way? They have, how do you call that? Drying machines. Yeah, they have drying machines that the temperature is like around, at least the ones I use in Brazil were around 60 Celsius. I had no idea in Fahrenheit. How is that?
Well,
No.
37 is 98, right?
Yeah, so it's like 120, 130 degrees.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could probably put your oven on really low for a little while.
Yeah, like really low temperature. Exactly, that was a good example. Really low temperature, but like hotter than it is right now, like outside, a little bit hotter. And that, if that's possible, right? And then it's going to dry. Cannot burn, it has to dry only. And then you're going to store them in the herbarium. Then you're gonna learn about the herbarium next week with more details, okay? One more thing before you go. Next week, there is a lab quiz, okay? So make sure you study the content of this week's lecture, okay? And also, what we discussed about the characters, okay? Have a look at the terminology of a phylogeny. Just make sure you understand. Questions, we're open for questions. Just send us an email or go to us in our office hours. And there is a homework for you that will help you study for the lab quiz. Do you have the lab manual printed with you? Does anyone have?
You have most of it. You have some of it.
Page 6, which talks about, yeah, this one exactly, which talks about the tree of life, the website. Go to the website, explore the website. There are some questions here. Some of the questions you're not necessarily going to find the information just on the website. Some of the questions here you probably already know. If you paid attention to lecture, you probably already know the answer. But others you might go through the website to check, okay? What time is it, Lane? Anyone?
3:15.
15?
Yeah.
So we have like 35 minutes. If you want to start doing the homework here, it's fine. If you don't want to start doing the homework here, it's fine too. You decide as you want. Usually lab will last the 3 hours or maybe like a little less, but since this lab is a little bit different, it doesn't last as long. But if you want to start the homework, go ahead. Maybe if you have a question, or just do whatever you think it's better for you.
Do we turn in that homework next week, or is that just for us?
Next week, yeah, turn in next week.
Do you want to type or anything?
You can write or you can type, whichever you think is easier for you. If you have like a nice handwriting, you can write, but if your handwriting is like super impossible to read, like type preferably, but I don't know, whatever it's easier. I find that nowadays people prefer typing rather than writing, but if you think writing is better, go ahead and write. Okay? Any questions, guys? No? Sure. Before you go, let me just say your names so I can see which ones I have memorized and which ones I need to work on. Brad, Paul, Christine,
Yes.
Ellie, don't say it, Cassidy, Matt, Victor, Tyler, Courtney, Anthony, it's with C, no, Kayla,
Yeah.
Stephanie, Levi, Liz, and Rachel. Okay, so I need to work on Courtney and Kayla. Okay. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you.